Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Campavto, the channel where we celebrate vehicles that look simple, work hard, and somehow end up changing history while pretending not to. Today we're talking about the 1966 Ford Econoline, a van so honest it feels like it should pay taxes twice. This is not a vehicle designed to impress your neighbors. This is a vehicle designed to outlast them. It's the kind of machine that doesn't ask who you are or where you're going. It just says, "Get in, we'll figure it out." Before we dive under the doghouse and into the strange mechanical decisions of mid-1960s Detroit, hit that subscribe button. It supports the channel and ensures we can keep telling stories about vans that built America while politicians were still arguing about who gets the bigger desk. Ford's first-generation Econoline emerged from a very specific moment in automotive history. By the late 1950s, American manufacturers were watching Europe closely, and not because of fashion. The Volkswagen Type 2 had proven that a compact forward-control van could move serious cargo with modest engines and excellent efficiency. Ford's response was swift and pragmatic. Rather than inventing an entirely new platform, the company's truck engineering department adapted the existing Falcon compact car architecture into a boxy, cab-over commercial vehicle. The Econoline debuted in 1961, built in Lorain, Ohio, and it immediately carved out a niche in a market that barely existed before it arrived. By 1966, the Econoline was in its sixth year of production, refined but not fundamentally altered. Ford did not chase radical redesigns. Instead, it quietly improved details that mattered to working customers. The van, pickup, and club wagon passenger variants shared the same underlying philosophy: maximum utility within the smallest possible footprint. The engine sat just behind the front axle, tucked between the seats under a removable cover, allowing a short wheelbase and a remarkably spacious cargo area. This layout also guaranteed that drivers learned exactly how warm an inline-six could get on a summer afternoon. The Econoline's intended audience was clear: small businesses, tradespeople, delivery fleets, and utility companies needed affordable vehicles that could haul tools, parts, or people without wasting space. Ford marketed the Econoline as a durable, economical workhorse, emphasizing that its compact dimensions allowed it to fit into a standard garage while still carrying large loads. In an era when the American van market was still developing, competition came primarily from the Chevrolet Corvair Greenbrier and Dodge A100. Ford's advantage was simplicity and parts commonality with the Falcon, which meant easy service and predictable ownership costs. Production numbers reflect the Econoline's quiet success. Across the entire first generation from 1961 to 1967, Ford built approximately 552,000 units, including vans, pickups, and club wagons. Annual output typically ranged between 60,000 and 80,000 vehicles. For the 1966 model year specifically, production included tens of thousands of standard vans and super vans, along with pickups and passenger models. Exact survival figures are unknown, but given how hard these vehicles worked, the percentage that remains today is small. Most were used until there was simply nothing left to use. Under the skin, the 1966 Econoline remained mechanically straightforward. Power came exclusively from Falcon-derived inline-six engines. The standard unit was a 170 cubic inch engine displacing about 2.8 liters and producing roughly 105 horsepower. Buyers seeking more muscle could opt for the larger 240 cubic inch Big Six, a 3.9-liter engine delivering around 150 horsepower at 4,000 RPM. A V8 was never offered, not due to lack of ambition, but because the mid-engine layout physically couldn't accommodate one without redesigning the entire van. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a 3-speed manual transmission, typically operated via column shifter. Automatic transmissions were available, and while they softened the driving experience, they didn't make the Econoline fast. Top speeds generally ranged between 75 and 85 miles per hour, or about 120 to 137 kilometers per hour, depending on gearing and load. Fuel economy was one of the van's strongest selling points. Period literature and road tests often quoted figures between 25 and 30 miles per gallon, impressive for a commercial vehicle of the era. The chassis used a unitized body construction, unusual for American trucks at the time. Suspension was deliberately simple, with a beam front axle and leaf springs at both ends. Four-wheel drum brakes handled stopping duties, while steel wheels in 14 or 15-inch sizes supported the load. The standard van rode on a 90-inch wheelbase, about 2.29 meters, while the super van stretched to a 108-inch wheelbase, or roughly 2.74 meters. Overall length ranged from approximately 168 inches, or 4.27 meters, to 186 inches, or 4.73 meters for the longer version. Curb weight typically fell between 3,000 and 3,500 pounds, depending on configuration. The cab-over design gave the Econoline a flat floor and excellent cargo access, but it also introduced quirks. Weight distribution placed significant mass over the front axle, particularly in pickup versions. Ford famously added ballast behind the rear axle to stabilize handling, a solution that worked well as long as owners didn't remove it in pursuit of imaginary performance gains. My friend Timmy once insisted ballast was just extra metal, which explains both his driving record and at least one divorce. Inside, the Econoline was utilitarian but improving. By 1966, federal safety standards had arrived, bringing padded dashboards and standard seatbelts. Passenger club wagons offered vinyl upholstery and seating for up to 8 people, while vans focused entirely on space. Optional equipment included rear heaters, chrome trim, sliding side doors, and additional windows. The engine doghouse dominated the cabin visually and thermally, but owners accepted it as part of the deal. What made the Econoline special was not comfort or style, but purpose. It was a rolling tool, designed to work every day, carry almost anything, and ask very little in return. It laid the groundwork for decades of American vans that followed, even if it never received the recognition it deserved. And yes, Bob, my conspiracy-loving neighbor, insists the mid-engine layout was testing Americans for alien contact readiness, which is exactly the kind of theory you develop when you've spent too long staring at an Econoline dashboard.